Hello there. Welcome to today's episode of Find Your Voice. My name is Joe Cramond. I'm the host of the show. And today we have a very special guest on, Damian Andrews. Hi, Damian. How are you?
Pleasure. I'm very well and a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me on your show. It's an honor.
Great. No problem at all. So, Damian, introduce yourself and what you do briefly to our audience.
Yeah, g'day. I'm Jamie. G'day, because I'm from Australia. So I'm going to say Australia, and welcome to pleasure to be here with you. No, I'll stop that silly accent. My name's Damian Andrews. I work in a variety of different roles. I have a consultancy firm that helps large businesses improve their profits, efficiency, and better employee relations. I also am the CEO of a radio station as well, and I work with a number of different groups and philanthropic groups, sorry. English is my second language. I don't have a first one, if I'm going to put it that way. But I work with a number of organizations. I'm helping one organization. They help women recover from family violence, teach them about financial knowledge. And we're bringing that program in Australia. It's running in Brisbane in the Gold Coast. I'm actually bringing that down to Victoria to run here. And I also have my own foundation, Share.care, which is SHAIR, Strong, Healthy and Inspiring Relationships. And basically, if you're going to put it in a nutshell, I've learned that for most people, and for me as well, for a large part of my life is pretty hard until I got a bit older, and then I realized that actually life is simple. There's some simple principles, and if you follow those principles, it can be very, very easy. So you can set yourself up to achieve great success without having to struggle and strain like a lot of people do. And so now I have a number of programs that I'm working towards releasing, because a lot of this information that I teach to large corporates, obviously they've got big budgets, and that sort of IP and all that sort of budget isn't available for your everyday person. And so I'm converting a lot of that IP that I've developed into packages that can be more affordable to people. And we've actually got an update coming to my website in April, which will be releasing some of that information so that you can actually make your life easy.
That sounds wonderful. That's really valuable stuff. It's sounds like you're a busy guy, Damian. Wow. It's well, what we're going to do is go through a few quick fire questions.
Yeah.
And see how we get on with that. The first question is, what does it say on your business card? If you put all that on a business card, it's going to be a big one. So I'd imagine we summarize, what does it sort of say? What's your key sort of title on the business card?
Yeah, I was told by some people, some very successful people, that important people don't carry business cards, and I took that to heart. So I don't have a business card, but if you search my name, I'm all over the front page of any search engine. I'm actually every link on the front page of Google. I haven't looked beyond the first page. So yeah, I don't have a business card, but if you want to find me, and when people ask me, how do I contact you, I just say search Damian Andrews. You won't. It's pretty hard to miss me.
No, that's a pretty good leverage. That's the top of Google on your name. That's good, because Damian Andrews, there must be quite a few Damian Andrews out there. But yeah, that's really good, really interesting. So
Yeah.
okay, so why on paper should you have never been successful?
Why on paper? Because I'm actually the descendant of some war refugees. My background is Polish, Ukraine, and Russian. So I'm a combination of all three, which, probably relevant now. If I can integrate, I think, they can integrate quite well as well. But my grandparents came out here with nothing but a suitcase, and they spent a lot of time apart because they literally couldn't be together. And that was back before. When you think about today, the life that we have, can you imagine not being able to communicate with your loved one for 2 weeks? I mean, my grandfather worked 8 hours away, so it wasn't like he could go home every night. And even on weekends, because they had no money, he was saving money to buy some land to build a house. And he's the way of communicating in between. He saw his wife and my dad and his sister, my auntie, every 6 weeks, and their communication was write a letter. The letter takes a week to get there, and then another week to get a response. That was their communication. And my granddad built a 2-room house, dirt floor, wood stove, and that's when my dad and his sister and my grandmother moved down, and they lived together. So looking at that background, really, it was quite. I mean, and I grew up in a small country town, didn't have a lot available to me. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and my first part of my life was probably avoiding things. I didn't want to be at school. My dad said that I wasn't allowed to leave school unless I had a job. 2 weeks later, the army recruitment people came around, and so I said, "Oh, great! I'll sign up because that gets me out of school." And then I'm in the army after about 2-3 weeks, and I'm going, this running around the bush. Australia only has one bush. You know, we don't have a forest. We just have one bush.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks running around the bush, I'm going, I really don't want to be doing this either. So when you look at all those things I was trying to avoid, it probably, that would be a number of reasons why, if you looked at that on paper and my background and some of the stupid stuff that I've done, I shouldn't be doing the stuff that I'm doing if you were to look at it that way.
No, that's fair enough. Well, going to the schooling and your sort of childhood side of things. So, if we ask 10 of your old schoolmates, what would they have described you? How would they have described you back then?
Oh, I mean, depends on where you are and which period you go back to. If you get in that DeLorean time machine, hit 88 miles an hour and go back in time to, to when I was younger. If you went back to when I was in primary school, my early primary school, I was the popular kid. I was, it was top of the tree. Had lots of friends, got along well with everyone, had a great time. And then I stayed I moved school for a term. And then when I came back at grade 6, I was no longer popular. I was at the bottom of the tree. So it depends on where you choose from. But I think if you were to ask them, how it would have described me, it would have been probably kind, thoughtful, sometimes a bit of a dick. I would do some stupid stuff and a bit silly, bit gregarious and out there and do some silly things. But genuinely, if people looked, they'd go, he really cares about others and wants to take care of them. That's been a theme all through my life.
That's really good to know. So, what was the last time you did something that scared you? Sounds like you've had a few scary moments, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I remember when I was in the army, jumping out of an airplane was pretty scary, and there's a number of things like that. The scariest moment that I ever had was when we had a very large house in a very wealthy suburb here in Melbourne, and we were renovating, and the pool was empty, and we actually had a balcony, not a balcony, a decking that cantilevered over the pool, which wasn't a problem when the pool had water in it, because you jumped off into the pool, but it was empty. And my son, who was, I think he was about 3 maybe, or maybe he was 2. He was very young, and he was sweeping on the decking, and he turned around and stepped off and fell backwards into the pool. And I didn't see him actually fall. I just turned around and saw that he had fallen. And I was holding a stereo at the time, and I just dropped it. I've never moved so fast in my life, and that would be the scariest moment that I had. And he was unhurt at all. Didn't have a mark on him. I have not. He fell 2 meters onto a concrete pool bottom, empty.
Really?
Never hurt himself. So, but yeah, that was probably, that's the scariest moment that I think I've ever had.
No, I can imagine. Yeah, definitely. So he landed on a soft part of his back in the right position, I'm guessing, sort of.
I have no idea because I didn't see it. I just heard it, and it was just But I've never moved so fast in my life. It's amazing what you can do in those moments. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to advice, what do people seek you out for?
Normally, I mean, in the corporate side of things, I get involved normally to sort out disputes. I'm pretty good at dispute resolution. I ended up being the mediator accidentally between the one of the biggest unions here in Victoria and one of the biggest corporate construction companies. And I was just by accident. I was there helping out with something else, and then they all went off to this meeting because the union had shut down the site. And then so they said, "Oh, come along." And I said, I'll go and have a look. And all the union people had sat on one side of the building. All the construction, corporates had sat on the other side. There's no seats left except the one at the head of the table. So I've sat there and sat down just looking. I'm observing, and they're staring at each other. Said, "Oh," and so I went to Mr. Union. Can you tell me, from what I understand, your issue is this, and this is what you need. And then I went to the corporate side because I was there with the corporate side, so I put the union first. And for 2 days, we went backwards and forwards, and we resolved it. And as we were walking out, the director said to me, he said, "I'm glad you're there because I was going to tell them to F off," and he didn't use the word F.
No, so, I was going to say that construction workers are, even though they're at that level, I would have thought there's still that element of could be some serious, fireworks going off in that office. I would have thought. With you,
There was a lot of tension. So there was a lot of tension. Yeah. So I mean, been very good at working with people under stress, and helping them open up. And because a lot of my clients do operate in that construction space, for my consulting firm. And when I'm walking around, I remember one time I was walking around, it was a 22-story high rise that was being built. And I'd always, have a little bit of a funny story just to talk about and share with people, and something about, relationships. And at the end of one of the discussions we're having, everyone had left, but this big guy, he was like big tattoos. He was almost crying. And I asked him, I said, "What's the matter?" And he goes, "Well, my wife and I don't know what to do." And he explained, his wife, and they were having these issues. And he said that he loved his wife. And so what I'll do is I'll send you a video that I think will help. And I said, and see how you go. And I gave him some advice, and we talked it through. I bumped into him 2 months later, and apparently they were like teenagers again, always getting the kids out of the way so they could sneak off and do what teenagers like to do. So yeah, so I really, yeah, so it was a wonderful thing to be able to help people in that way, and that's what makes my day, being able to help people in that way.
Well, it makes a big difference, right? Even in business, it's the huge thing. If you've got issues in your personal life, it can make a massive difference in the way that you just think about the day, make decisions. How you process challenges you've got at work can be a lot harder if you've got stress in your home life. So I've been through this many times. You're lucky if you've got a good balance. You're very lucky if you've got a great home life and the work's going well, but normally it's either one or the other. It's
exactly
most people, but yeah,
you're doing very well at work, or you're doing very well at home.
Exactly. Okay, so what's one of the weaknesses that you're working on to improve right now?
It's interesting you mentioned that, and a great question, because I started the year, and as most people do, you start with resolutions. And as the new year came around, I was thinking about that, going, well, I've got most of my goals. Well, I've got all my goals set, and I've got my intentions set. I know what my personal mission statement is, have all that. And so I was thinking, I probably don't need to set any. And I was thinking about that, and was having a conversation with someone about 2 weeks into the year. And it's something I've spent a lot of time. I have a program called Negotiation Magic, which is a high-end negotiation dispute resolution course. And one of the key things we talk about that is the power of silence, and also the power of listening. And I think I'm a pretty good listener, and I have been. I believe I am. I seem to get along well with a lot of people, largely because I listen. But I thought that's probably one of the most important things that I could do. And even though I didn't really see it as a weakness, I thought that's going to be my focus. That's going to be my one resolution this year, that I'm going to spend, that is going to be my focus this whole year, is I'm going to spend the whole time really listening, really paying attention to body language, really paying attention to tonalities, reading between the lines of what people have said, and see if I can understand what they're thinking and connect deeper. I'm not sure if it's answering your question in the sense of it is a weakness, but it's something that I'm really focusing on this year.
You're looking to improve. I think everyone should improve that. I think active listening is really important, and working out what someone's really saying, rather than, a lot of people wait to speak, don't they? They sort of listen. They say, "Oh, I hear you," but really, it's kind of like, they're just waiting to have their say. And that's really valuable thing you've just said there. So, as your 20-year-old self was watching you on the show, what would you advise them?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. I remember when I was a kid, I worked out how old I was going to be at the year 2000, which was, I was going to be 28, so I'm a lot older than I look. And if I was going to, what would I advise my 20-year-old self? I think the thing that I learned too late in life, because I grew up with the parents that always told you to try and work things out, try and get along with everybody, that kind of thing. And I've learnt too late in life that no amount of skill fixes a poor partner choice. And that's both in personal and in business. And to really pay attention, that doesn't mean that you hate the other person or whatever, but you're paying attention. This is that listening component, listening, going, are we going to get along well? Because once you're in that relationship, and it's difficult, certainly when things go awry, and anyone that's had a relationship that's broken up, certainly if they were married, they understand that difficulty. Whereas looking closely, and I look at, for example, a number of my friends are in long-term, very happy marriages, and all of them talked about, when I asked them about what they were looking for, and they were focused on, the right character in the person, that they aligned with what they what they knew what they wanted, and the person they were going to get married to, and did marry, aligned with that. Even they didn't do the same thing. There's a lot of people, I know, male or female, that they're very career focused, and they've married someone who is more of a homemaker because it gives them that nice balance.
Yeah.
So, but it would be, just no amount of skill fixes a poor partner choice. Be very careful about the relationships you get into. So that doesn't mean you hate the other person or are aggressive towards the other person. Just like you notice and go, oh, well, maybe I might want to be careful about this alignment here. We can disagree, and that's fine. But if I'm going to have a partnership, be it personal or business, we need to have an alignment that works in a harmonious way.
Definitely. No, I agree. Wonderful advice. So what 3 words would you want written on your epitaph? Bit of a macabre question, but
yeah, no, that's I get that, and we actually have it carved out. I actually have it's a 2-meter steel octagon fireplace that's made, and in it's carved our family values, which is honesty, excellence, and understanding. So I would say that would probably be it, because that's within my mission statement as well. My personal mission statement has honesty, excellence, and understanding. So that would be the 3 words.
It's wonderful. Well, Damian, it's been absolutely, it's been an inspirational conversation. I really appreciate your time, and look forward to. So, if we want to check you out, what's your website called?
Yeah, so you can check me out at damianandrews.com, or my foundation is share.care, which is SHA, so www.shair.care. They're the 2 places you can reach me, and there's a number of other businesses that are linked in there as well that I also own or operate in some way. So they're listed there. But searching Damian Andrews in any search engine you'll find me.
Wonderful. Great, Damian. Well, thanks very much for your time. And just to let the audience know, if you want to build your leadership thought profile online and do some podcast guesting, visit us at podcastguesting.pro, and we'll get in touch, and we can, good luck, Damian, with everything you're doing, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
Yeah, I'd love that very much. It's been a pleasure and honor having you, for me being on your show. Thank you for making the time for me.
No problem at all. Right. Look after yourself. Thanks very much. Thanks, everybody, for listening in. Cheers.